sewing friends, and welcome to another episode of Sequin Girly Creates. This is one of my sort of pattern review / pattern hack episodes. I had such a brilliant response to the Seasons of East Summer in New York dress one that I thought I would do this one with you. So today's is all about the Patina Blouse. So let's start with what you get. Now I bought, which I don't often do, but I did buy the paper pattern, and so I'll just show you that. So here's the paper pattern. It is, I know not all indie companies are, but it is the proper sort of pattern paper that it's not AO sort of printed paper, it's pattern paper. You get a nice colour booklet inside as well. Now I really vary, but I am often a tracer, particularly with a pattern like this one. I'd never sewn it before. I will trace because I want to be sure that I can go back and make any changes, because I don't know. They're very, very good at talking about finished sizes and what requirements. And when you look inside, they do give you the finished garment measurements. They're really clear. It's the one thing that the big four make so difficult. You have to search on the pattern pieces if you're going to find them, and actually just a little bit like this just makes life so much easier. So even though I'd looked at all of those, and it's got like neck depth, lower neck depth, all of the things, I still wanted to trace because it allows me to hack. It also allows me to go back if I've made a mistake without having lost the pieces as well. It looks like a colour booklet, but actually inside it is mostly grey line drawings. But I would say their drawings are incredibly clear. There are some companies where the drawings are a bit too small or not quite clarity. So although they're not photographs, they are incredibly clear, and it's really easy to tell the difference. If you buy the PDF version, you can even get a mobile phone friendly version of this, so that you can flick through it like a book on your phone, and you can zoom in. So if you're thinking, which version do I want, particularly if you sometimes struggle to see exactly which bit they're referring to, by getting the PDF version, you can get the tablet or mobile phone friendly version, and you can really zoom in to look closely. So that would be a tip for anyone who's thinking which is the best version to get. The other reason I quite like to buy PDF versions is because I can cut out the version I get, and then I can just have it reprinted, or I can print it myself again. But sometimes it is nice to have a booklet to hold, so it depends on what you prefer. This was my first Friday Pattern Company pattern, and it was one of the very first blouses I've ever sewn as well. So I would say that it's a great introduction to things like a collar, and to put in a double yoke in, and the burrito method. So if you haven't done those things before, I would highly recommend this pattern to take you through those steps. Very much like I found with the Seasons of East dress, it was a great introduction to an invisible zip. This is a great introduction to blouse making and collars and interfacing and yokes. So I would definitely recommend this. If you're nervous about buttonholes, you could do snaps. You could also, I find, just do a fake button placket, because I can often get this over my head. So don't be put off by the buttons if you're someone that worries about buttonholes or buttons. There are definitely ways around it. Now there are quite a few pieces. The original pattern does give a short or a long sleeve version. The long sleeve has like a cuff, but I'll show you the pattern pieces here. It's very, very clearly done. So there's the pattern pieces. It has a really good size range, I think, as well. It goes from an extra small to a 7X. So it goes from a bust 32 all the way up to a bust 60, which is a waist 24 all the way up to a waist 53. Bridal Pattern Company are really good at being size inclusive, I think. If you think differently, do drop me a message below, because obviously I'm only going based on my own perception and what other people that I've watched have said. So the pieces, you've got your front piece that you cut two of, your back piece which you cut on the fold, then you've got your two yokes, and then you've got to cut the collar. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, and then you've got this very strange shaped interfacing in the back, and then depending on what you do with the sleeve to which pieces you need to cut for that. I would say don't be put off by the number of pieces, and also don't be put off by the complexity. It's definitely worth it. So this is the first one I made. I'll just bring this one a little closer for a minute. So I made a toile for my first one, or a muslin, or whatever you want to call it. It has become a wearable toile for me because I did it in a fabric that I didn't know how I felt about. I was a bit meh about it, but actually it's turned out so well, I would definitely do it again. And I did do a contrasting fabric from the collar to the body, both IKEA fabrics, but they work well together. So if I turn it round, you gather at the back here to create like a bit of ease at the back. Now I've worked out, I think that's the thing missing on the myosotis dress on the back. By having you gather between the two notches, by having a little gather here, it does just mean you've got a bit more air, sort of movement in the back when you stretch your arms and things. And if you want, you can always tailor the waist down a bit if you want more shaping, but that gather works well, and it's just a very small gather. And as I say, you've got your yoke at the back. Now I did the short sleeve version for this one. As I say, there is a long sleeve version. You've got your 2 front bodice pieces, and there is a dart. For me, the dart is a little low. So I think I think when I've thought about it, I should point it up a bit more. So that's why it's worth doing a toile, to work out where the dart works for you and what you want the dart to do as well. You might be able to hear the steam train going past, I'm not sure. And then the collar, you interface, now we'll talk about that in a minute, you interface the top one and not the bottom one, and you stitch these two together before you base them onto the neck, and then you have an interfacing all the way down, a facing all the way down, which you're supposed to interface as well. And then I popped buttons on. I haven't done them all up, but there's buttons, and you could overstitch and so on. For me, I didn't do the longer down neckline, and even for me this is a little bit sort of revealing. You can see here it is pretty close to being not suitable for me, so I'm going to put in the description my distance from, I don't know, I've done both sides, but this sort of dip here, clavicle I think that's called, from here to here for you, because it might help you to decide which version you want. But I have to say it's something that I've played with a bit for me, because it's definitely a little low for me, even though I've done the higher of the 2 versions. I did the full width collar on this one that's recommended. So after my toile, I then wanted to make a wearable one, which I'll show you, and I already at that point started messing with it. So I had never done a double yoke in the burrito method before. If you're not familiar what the burrito method is, the burrito method allows you to have an inside with no seams showing and the same on the outside. So just look it up on YouTube or online. Once you've got it in your head what's happening, it makes complete sense. When you don't, the pictures are clear in the Friday Pattern Company, but also just watch a YouTube video. There's people who've made them and explained it, and it's so clear and it's brilliant. I'm just going to show you a picture of it in here, because they do a very good picture of it, but I needed more than that. The other thing that the Friday Pattern Company do, and I'll talk about sleeves a bit more in a minute, is you put in the sleeve before you join up the sides. Never done that before either, and now I almost do it all of the time, and they always do that in their patterns. They've done it in the Donny shirt and things as well. So let's just pop this one on the floor, and we'll talk about this one here, which, by the way, just while I'm popping this on, to let you know, I have made, using the Friday Pattern Company Patina Blouse patterns, I've made 8 versions, and 2 of them have been recently, so I could give you the full and best advice I could. So hopefully I've made 8 different ones will be helpful. So let's have a look at what I made second. So again, I did do the full collar width on this one. Now I made this out of some quilting cotton. So it does create a different hang depending on I know it's obvious, but depending on the type of fabric you use. And I've used different types of fabric so you can see. So it's a bit of a stiffer sit on you, but they're both the same pattern, but in different colourways. This time I did arc the dart upwards, and that falls much better for me. So it's something I must remember. See, on that side I didn't do it quite so much. So I need to mark the apex when I am doing the dart on the Friday Pattern Company, because it does start quite low. So the collar I did in the contrast. I made up a sleeve cuff. So I just looked it up, made it up, and edged it on the inside in the fabric. So I did the sleeve based on their pattern, but then added my own cuff. And then on the back, I did this part, and you can see the gather nicely here. I did this part in this colour, but on the inside, I did the facing and the inside yoke. I've just done it up and now I'm undoing it. The blue, and the inside yoke, the blue as well. And I just felt that for me, I want the inside to be as beautiful as the outside, because I see it every time I put it on, and I know secretly what's in there as well. It's a bit like what underwear you wear, isn't it? Very few people will ever know. And there's like, you know, remember clean knickers for an accident, as my mum used to say, my gran used to say. But what it means is that you have that secret smart that you know what's going on and looking great on the inside. So I stuck with the pattern in a fairly sort of traditional way, apart from the cuffs on the sleeve, which I think works better for me, and using a quilting weight cotton. But apart from that, and playing with the two colours, I stuck to what Friday Pattern Company tell you to do, but it didn't stop there. So what I'm wearing is a version which is the blouse and then into a pencil skirt. I will put pictures up. And again, I liked the playing with this. So this time I played with it completely differently. So underneath the bottom of the collar is the same as this fabric. I made a thinner collar this time. So I just cut it thinner as I cut it. And the back, let me turn round. You can see the yoke. I really went for it this time. And someone said to me, because I shared this one on one of my Make 9 updates, said I was a bit worried how it's going to go, but once you put it together, it was great. They're both from the same fabric range, which means they are the same colours. So these beetles have the same colours in them as in here. Someone said to me, how do you work out what colour fabrics to put together? Well, you could go for the same design in two colourways if you're nervous, or buy two fabrics that are in the same range. So this was called, I don't know, it had a really interesting name, but it was by a quilting cotton company, and they had this whole series. They had the black backgrounds and the white backgrounds. They had this and this with the white background as well. Had to resist. But if you do that, you know the colours work together because they're the same colour palette. And I did the pocket in the contrast as well. I decided to button all the way down. I used a pencil skirt that I knew fit me well, but I just cut at the front and added extra for the facing to go, the button placket or the facing to go all the way down. So the buttons go all the way and they all work. I enjoy the fact that you've got the bagging here, because you've then got the waist, so it's quite sort of flattering on the waist because it's flat to here with darts here, and then this little bit of bagging here. I did, as you can see, have a little fitting issue here with the collar, but I think there's so much going on in this pattern that it's not a problem. For the future, I would probably bring this up about 1 centimetre the waist, but I normally pop a belt on with it anyway, so you can't tell. So that was my first level hack, which was to make it into a pencil dress. This fabric is actually a quilting weight cotton, but with some stretch, which this one does not have, but this one definitely has. And so I knew it would work for a pencil skirt because it allows you that bit of movement without you feeling restricted. But it didn't stop there. So I varied the sleeve, I varied the collar. Oh, and on this sleeve version, I did a little fold over sleeve here, because I felt that it just gave a nice little detail. And that's the thing, and I've talked about it in some of my other videos, that I would say is once you've got something, you can just do a little play with something. So just try out a different cuff, try out a different sleeve, try out a different width of collar on it. Just have a play. Because this is such a small piece of fabric, it's easy if it goes wrong to just cut it again wider. It's not like cutting a whole bodice or a whole skirt. But it didn't stop there. So once I'd made the pencil dress, I really felt that there were other dresses I could make. So I'm just going to swap this over now. Whilst I'm swapping it over, I do want to just talk to you about this piece here that you cut. So can you see this piece here? This is one continuous pattern piece. You cut one for this side and one for that. It is a tricky cut. I am a pattern weight scissor cutter. You might be a rotary cutter. I don't know what you might be, but for me, getting it to make sure that the curve lies correctly with the pattern weights and flat means that you are really at risk of it not being the right shape. So be careful when you're cutting. That's the one piece, and it takes quite a length of fabric. On back, everything's different. So before I talk about this version, I just want to say, if you were coming to this vlog and thinking that it would be a sew along, it's not. There are some brilliant sew alongs out there. If you just search Patina Blouse sew along, Friday Pattern Company have got one. There's some other great ones out there. So that's not what this is. This is to help you sort of feel confident about it, help you to hack it, help you to make it your own, and also help you decide if you want to sew it as well. Right, so dress number one was the pencil dress, thinner collar. So this time I went for no collar. So I thought it's a super flattering fit on me. So let's try it just without the collar and see what we think. So this is what I did. This is a fabric from Minerva. It's one of the Minerva own brand designs. It is a viscose challis, and it's the first viscose challis I ever sewed, and I was sold. The weight, the softness, so you can see I kept with the short sleeve. I went really quite short this time, so way shorter. So all I do when I want to shorten it is I just fold the bottom of the pattern that I've traced up. So I just fold it up to get the length I want. So I went for a much shorter one. I did prim snaps for the buttons because this goes over my head without any problem, but it means if I needed to, I could undo them. I did less gathering in the yoke because I didn't want the billowing here. Because I knew the skirt would billow, I gathered less across the back piece. So I can definitely show you what I did there. So this is the back piece. It's flat across the top because obviously the yoke fits on to finish the sleeve. And I realised that how much wider than the yoke it was. So I held it up to the yoke. So folded the yoke in half. And the yoke goes on here. So I then folded it to match the yoke because it's actually that much wider twice, which is where you get the gather from. So I folded it to that because then I knew that it wouldn't have the billowing here. And this is what I mean about a bit of tracing. I can fold that. And when this bit of tracing gets too titty, I can just retrace it again from the original pattern. You can see the amount of folds I've done at the bottom. Because I'm not doing a full length blouse, I needed to fold this because I needed it to finish at my natural waist. So if I hold this bit to here, the full length would be down here. So I folded it, remembering to leave room for the seam, the two joins, till I got roughly the length I wanted. So that's the great thing about tracing one as well. And obviously, you need to remember to do that to the front piece and that front facing piece as well, otherwise you'll have that bit down here still. So left out the 4 collar pieces, but apart from that, did everything the same. There's still the yoke inside. And then for the skirt, I just did the maximum width because it was the nice wide fabric and gathered it to attach, and I actually added a ruffle on the bottom as well. Some advice for attaching the the Patina Blouse bodice to a skirt, be mindful of the fact that as it comes over your bust, this will shorten like where this piece lies. So you need to think about that being longer when you measure that than the side here and the back. So because this is sat on a dummy, you can't quite see it, but otherwise this part really rides up and then you end up with this horrible like curve down. So you could baste it and adjust it. You can sort of take a lot of serious measurements. You could do it from a previous one you've made, but just be aware that if you do this looking parallel all the way round, your body will change that when it sits on you. So just be mindful of that when you're doing this, that otherwise you're going to have this rising up at the front. So there we go, that was the first dress, sort of flared dress version I made, and I loved it. I've worn this a lot. I've thought about why. I think it's three things. One, this fabric feels very me. Two, the fabric feels really nice to wear. And three, it looks really flattering because I can put a belt on with it or leave a belt off, but it's just a very good style on me. But it didn't stop there. Then I made this one. I'll just get this down to show you. So this is a poly cotton, and so it's a lot stiffer hang than this. So I made the short sleeve again, and I decided to do real buttons to the waist. So these work. And then from the waist down, they're fake buttons. This is a fake placket. So it looks exactly like the placket, but it doesn't work. So the way I did that was got the two skirt pieces and folded them and then stitched to make sure it continued down to look like a placket. I also included ties as I stitched the waist together, and again gathered around the waist. Because you've got the ties on this one, it can allow you to sort of hide any rising up a little bit because it's that. But this one I like. Oh, and I put pockets in as well. So just in the side seam pockets. I didn't do pockets in this one because I didn't want it to affect the way the challis fell. This one, because I did a more flared skirt, can you see that one's flared? That's a more straight down skirt. I knew that the pockets would work. I like everything about this, but I don't think the pattern is right for me. But I love it in lots of other ways. But the advice I'd give is you can stitch a belt in. You decide whether you do it in the bodice or the skirt, depending on where you want it to fall. And you can stitch buttons on without having to make buttonholes if you want to create the effect, but not have to do all those buttonholes. So by this point, I was getting to know the pattern pretty well. And I'd sewn it in quilting cotton, poly cotton and challis, so I'd had a good experience of that. So then I thought, what else do I want to try? So I wanted to make another blouse version, and I wanted to do it in a really floaty fabric because it's really nice to have that sometimes where it just sits, and it really sits differently, doesn't it, when it's a floaty. So let's pop it over the top. And this is back to what I was saying about knowing for yourself what's happening. So I wanted it to be a purple. I love purple and it goes with lots of the skirts and things I have. I'm yet to do the buttons on it, but you can just see this edge here that makes it look like piping. But the truth is I did that for the underside of the collar. And that's one of the things I love about with these collar pieces is you can easily just add a secret bit. And although at the back, I've done the yoke in the matching and you can see the little gathers there. Guess what I did on the inside? I did that pink gingham for the yoke on the inside. Again, for me, no one else will see it, but I love it and I get to see it. So this one, it hangs really differently because it's really floaty. I've done a longer sleeve, so it is still cool, but it's floaty, it doesn't hang stiff. I'm not 100% sure. I don't think this is a viscose challis because it's even thinner than that. It doesn't feel like a cotton lawn, but whatever it is super floaty. I bought this from Abercorn Fabrics when I'm pursuing my buying plain cottons, and so it has a lovely sort of way that it drapes when you don't want that stiffness. So then I made this one. So this is a viscose chalet as well. And I decided to try something different. So I went back to the full width collar and then added an edging in. Can you see that there? I did put the interfacing in this collar. Now I just want to talk about the interfacing for a minute. If you don't know, I am not a big fan. No interfacing, didn't need it. No interfacing. Interfacing in the quilting cotton one, interfacing in here, and obviously interfacing in the original. I hate the rustle of it. I think I'm going to have to really invest in some really expensive interfacing to see if I can get away with that. I got the thinnest I could, but I can just hear it in the movement. It needed it because of this edging. So different sleeve as well. So if we recap, we've done straightforward short sleeve with cuff, short sleeve with little overlap bit, long sleeve, and this time I did an elasticated, just a little elasticated cuff frill here. So just like you would in a pair of shorts, it's like a mini paper bag version, so you've got the top bit and then the elastic in there. And I did that because it gives me the flexibility. In the winter I could wear a roll neck under this, or this time of year where it keeps changing. Watch what happens when I do this. So this is from my exploring different sleeves. Suddenly I've got a completely different look now. So I didn't do it a complete full length, it's like a 3/4 length, but that just changes it completely. So playing with a sleeve, it can be really interesting in creating a top. I've done the skirt just like the skirt in this one, but no ruffle on the bottom. And I've done these buttons. Now I've not done buttonholes, I've just stitched these on because this can go over my head, and obviously I've got it on with a belt today. And at the end I will put pictures of all of the different versions so you can just have a good look. This fabric again, like this fabric, super soft, super floaty. This feels like a really transitional version of the Patina Blouse dress hack. This is like the summer, this feels like the autumn one. But you know me and you know Jersey, so I didn't want to let you down. I thought I'd better try out if we can make the Patina Blouse hack dress in Jersey. So give me a minute while I just pop it on here for you. So for any of my regular viewers, you will know I love a Jersey dress and that I've created my own. And if you want to have a go, I've made a vlog about how to sew a twist front Jersey dress. If you don't follow me on Instagram, I am Sequin Girly on Instagram, and I'd highly recommend that if you want to see updates like sneak peeks, that sort of thing, it's a great place to see that. And also to see follow-ups to these things, because I wanted to see if I could sew a Jersey version to talk to you about, but the one I've sewn is a trial, so if you want to see sort of updates and see when I've made a proper quality Jersey one, it will end up on Instagram first, and I will talk about it in a future vlog, but it's just a great way of seeing what I'm up to. So the first question I asked myself was, is it possible? And you might say, why did you wonder if it's possible? Well, I wondered if it was possible because we've got a collar, and I was like, how will a collar work in Jersey? Because I don't really want to put an interfacing and facing in. Now I've got Jersey interfacing, that's not my worry, but it's the sort of the plackety facing part, and I thought I don't really want all of that. So I had a little look at a few videos and things. This is nowhere near finished, by the way, and the answer is, can I make a collar in a Jersey fabric? Yes, I can. This is a really cheap jersey that I bought in a sale for about like £2 a metre. So it's perfect for a toile like this. It looks nice, but when you get up close, it's super thin, so it shows every lump and bump. And it also means it gets pulled, but it's perfect for trying out. So first question, can I sew a collar? Yes, so I cut the pieces, but instead of doing a facing, I put the collar to the inside, so on the wrong side of the fabric, and I overlocked all the way around so that then when you flip it over, you can't see the overlock. You could then top stitch to keep it down, but actually it's sitting down perfectly. I didn't do a yoke, So I just joined the yoke and the back piece together to create one continuous piece, because you don't need it for the inside here. What's going on there? So I created one continuous back piece the right size. I did the front bodice the same, but instead of doing buttons, I just again overlocked the join, very much like the join on the Donny shirt or the Seasons of East dress. I did put the dart in, because you can do that with jersey, and I use that little lightning stitch because it gives stretch to it. It allows it to cope with stretching as well. The skirt, I did 2 front pieces and 1 continuous back piece, because it means that the middle join goes all the way down. I have thought about whether I would put some of the prim poppers on or something to create like that fake pencil dress look. At the back, I removed the billowing, so there is a little bit, but not much. The skirt needs to come up a bit. The sleeve, I didn't use the Patina Blouse sleeve. I used the Tilly and the Buttons Freya sleeve, because it's a sleeve I've used with jersey before and I know it works. I did have a little play with making a leg of mutton sleeve. It's not 100% worked, but it's something I'm going to keep playing with. It's kind of, but not 100%. And then I do need to deal with this little bit here, which I will probably just stitch it together, to be honest. But what I wanted to do was ask the question, can you sew a patina blouse in jersey? Yes, you can, but you're just going to have to think about what to do about this bit here, which I'm working on. And can you then make it into a dress? Yes, you can. So there is my answer to, can you hack a patina blouse into any kind of fabric? Yes, but think about the fact that you'd need negative ease in something like this. Think about how much sort of billowing you want in the tops and the dresses that you're wearing. But yes, you can make it in any way you want. Play with the sleeve, play with the size of the collar or no collar, but it is a great pattern to start as a base to mess with. I really hope this has been helpful. If you have any other questions about it, please drop me a comment or go over to Instagram and send me a message, which lovely people do as well, because I want to help you, as I say a lot, to create the wardrobe that is you. And that might mean making dresses and things and adding embellishments and all of those sorts of things, and what works for you. And the patina blouse definitely works for me. Now you might be sat there thinking, well, hang on, you could probably buy a pattern to make a dress like that. And do you know what? You probably could. And if that works for you, please do go and do that. But for me, I need to not overspend on my hobby, so not buying lots of patterns is one reason. B, I want to work with a pattern that I know, and I love the mental challenge of the hacking and the creation. Please remember my account is called Sequin Girly Creates, so that creativeness, I feel a little bit like a sort of a mad scientist when I'm constructing something or trying something out, and for me that's part of the joy. If it isn't for you, then that's okay. You will be able to find. I've definitely seen a pattern like this, I think, in Style Arc or something like that you could get. But for me, I just love that creation of what can I do with a pattern that I know quite well. With this one, I really made sure I got the button right in there, so it's exactly the right length for me. Any lower and it wouldn't have been good. Little tip on sewing this collar just before I go is I stitched it to one collar before I join them together, because then you're not having to worry about that as well. If you want ideas and inspiration beyond what I've talked about, if you go to Instagram and search for the hashtag Patina Blouse, you will find other ones that people have made. And on Google, if you search Patina Blouse hack and add the word dress, there are some brilliant versions out there, including the fact that someone recently has made a sort of little cord jacket from the design Friday Pattern Company often showcase the hacks that people do as well, so it's definitely a pattern worth a search because you will find inspiration. And even if you just want to see what it looks like in different colours or different types of fabric, it's one where there's plenty that you can have a look at and see it. But I hope this has been useful. Do let me know your thoughts, and also any other patterns that you've seen me make that you'd like me to do this for too. Have a great rest of the week and see you soon.